Well, hey everybody, it's Hudson, and in this Approaching the Scene video, I'm going to share a few potential holiday gift ideas either for yourself or for a photographer that you love. And I know if you're like me, you're sick and tired of all the emails about Black Friday, this special, these deals won't last, Cyber Monday. It's not like that. These are things I don't necessarily know if any of them are on sale. They're just things that I use all the time. I think they're totally essential, or there's something new and fun that I've been enjoying this year. It's just a few, nothing over $150, and some of them are even under $15. So this is Approaching the Scene. It's a series of weekly videos that I put out on Thursdays about all things photographic, and above all, I really want it to be a conversation. I'll take a few questions of yours at the end, and I'll talk about how to submit those questions, or you can just drop them in the comments section below. All the stuff that I talk about here today, there'll be a link down below. And before I kick off the kind of holiday gift guide, you'll notice there's this big black Nikon box sitting here, and there's actually a couple other cameras on it. And it's kind of an exciting time for me. I'm playing with some new photo technology. I've got the Nikon Z6 just got delivered today, and I haven't even opened the box yet. And I can tell you I am not beholden to Nikon in any way. I'm a huge fan of DSLRs at this point in the whole process. I feel like they're a really developed product where the mirrorless cameras are a little bit in their infancy, a little less robust. There's a few times that I find them a little annoying to use, like low light with the electronic viewfinder. So, I'm going to take a really objective look at this, and I'll let you know what I like and what I don't like. And if I don't like it enough, the next video that I do that includes this might be a reboxing video to send it back. So, totally honest critique. I got the Z6 with the 24-70 S lens, that new mount lens, and an adapter for all my other Nikon glass from B&H through a Nikon Professional Services buy, and it just came available. And I'm excited to try it out. I am. It'll be kind of fun to test out around the holidays with the kids and everything. So. The other really cool thing I've been playing with, I've had less than a week now, is my Google Pixel 3 XL. I know lots of people are iPhone aficionados. The camera on this phone is truly ridiculous, and the night sight mode on it is incredible, and I'll be sharing some information about that. I was just at a concert the other night, saw Blitz and Trapper here locally, and it was just ridiculous what it was doing in low light situations. The photos were just stupid for being handheld with a cell phone, and its video is great too, as is its microphone. Also, I have a little camera here that my buddy Matt Kloskowski, if you guys don't follow Matt, you should. He's just an amazing photo software educator and all-around fun guy that I love to get out and spend time with. And he recommended that for some of the location videos that I do, I pick up one of these little Sony RX100 Mark Vs. The Mark 6 has a longer lens, costs a little bit more money, but it's a really cool little pocket 1-inch sensor camera, great mirrorless camera. It's got this crazy little viewfinder. I'll talk more about it. And some of the great things about it. I've actually been really enjoying it, and it's making me wonder if it's the only Sony mirrorless camera that I need. I love the fact that it's so pocketable. So I've got sort of some new photo technology. There'll be a lot more about that soon, not necessarily this video. But so starting out with some of these little things that you should think about having if you don't. I think everyone that's into photography ought to have a rocket blower. It's just a base piece of equipment. And I'm always surprised at seminars and at workshops when people show up without them, really. I mean, if you've got some schmutz on your lens, if you've got some dust on your sensor, if you have something on an optical surface, it's just a really good idea to blow it out before you wipe it off. So I just watched a piece of dust fly off my 85 1.8 millimeter lens right there. I just saw it fly off. And even if you've got stuff that won't come off with blowing, you might have some dust or some piece of sand on there or something, and then when you hit it with the microfiber cloth, it's just going to scrape the coating right off the front element of your lens. So it's a good idea to just hit it with a nice dry blow of a rocket blower. This thing's like $9. So there's no excuse not to have one, I would say. A lot of people see these. I still don't see a ton of people showing up to seminars and workshops with them. But I really love my stone bag. Sometimes they call them tripod hammocks. Sometimes they call them stone bags. It creates a shelf. When I'm working with my tripod, I can drop my lens cap. I can drop filters in there. Now, granted, you got to be careful to remember that you've got something in there. If you go moving camera positions, I almost lost a really nice set of Hoya Solus infrared neutral density filters because they fell off the edge of a cliff at a waterfall and I had to climb down to get them. Luckily they caught in a bush. So just remember you got stuff in there. But perhaps the most useful purpose of all, we've got lightweight tripods. You get into a windstorm or really unstable conditions, you can take a rock or a sandbag or whatever, drop it in there, and my tripod and head just went from being 7 pounds to, 32 pounds right there. Boom. So that's why they call it a stone bag. It just adds stability. And I have people ask me, well, what if I want to stretch my legs out? What if I want to carry the tripod around? Well, to collapse the tripod, I just pop it up and collapse the tripod around it. It folds in the middle really nice. If I want to stretch a leg out, it's as easy as undoing the Velcro, swinging the leg out further to set it up against a wall or whatever. You can take 2 of them off and have it just dangling there. And I keep it on all the time on the tripods that I use, just because it is such a handy thing. They're, like $11, something like that. Again, just kind of a no-brainer to grab. And the links to all this stuff is down below. So the next thing I want to talk about really quick is these little Samsung, thought I had one sitting here, portable hard drives. So this is one that actually has my entire Lightroom catalog on it, and I move it back and forth from my desktop to my laptop. But I have a whole bunch of these little guys, and I use them to store my photos on when I'm traveling. I'll send photos into one and catalog it in Lightroom, or use it as the folder that I'm editing in on One Photo Raw, and then I'll send them also to a backup drive, and I have all my photos backing up onto one while I'm working with another, and I'll just keep it in my pocket when I go out to dinner. Oh, you know what? That's where it was. I actually have one in my pocket right there. So small you don't even notice that it's in your pocket. Ultra lightweight. They're about $100 for 500 gigabytes, so they're more expensive than a spinning drive, but they're also way less likely to have something go wrong with them. And they're faster. It's a little USB-C connection that goes straight out to USB 3, and they are very, very quick. And I actually find my good friend Rick LePage, the original one who pointed out that I should be using these, I find a huge performance upgrade moving my Lightroom catalog off of my MacBook Pro's internal solid-state drive onto this external solid-state drive. It just opens up a pipeline only to the catalog. So I like to keep my software on and my operating system on my system drive, my database or my Scratch drive if I'm working in On One or Adobe Premiere or Photoshop on one of these little external drives, and then photos on another. And I find that the performance speed of having each of those have their own pipeline to the RAM and the central processor really speeds things up. So for what it's worth, I think they're really, really great, and I don't see myself going back to spinning drives anytime soon, and I think they're only going to get cheaper as time goes on. But for me, 99 bucks for 500 gigabytes, it's worth it. The next thing that's really fun, my buddy, actually the last 2 things I have to talk about are both recommendations from my good buddy David Archer, who I've been running workshops with in conjunction with. He's got his hometown is South Carolina. I'll be running a workshop with him in Charleston this spring, and he's also going to help me out in Olympic National Park and in Patagonia in the fall. So he saw that I didn't have one of these. He loves his. He has kind of everything Nikon, so he bought me one of these, and I absolutely love it. It's a Pluto trigger. I think that by the time you get it with a cable for your particular camera, it's going to be about $150. You need to order the Pluto trigger and then also get the correct cable for your brand. They have them for just about every camera out there. There's a little list and you can figure out which one you need for yours. I have it set up on my D500 right now behind me, and it's literally, I've got it set for just a remote shutter release. It's a Bluetooth connection to your smartphone, either for Android or iPhone. Hit that button, boom, snap the photo, just like that. It has some other really cool features. One of them that I really like is the bulb mode, and you can program in up to a 99 minute and 59 second bulb mode. So for those long exposures, I have it set right now for an hour and 5 seconds. I could hit this button and it will literally leave the shutter open for an hour. And I don't have to be watching some clock with an alarm and run back and trip it off. I could go off, get lunch, have a conversation, keep the tripod in my eye, and I know it's going to shut off exactly when I told it to. So really, really cool. If I hit stop, I can preemptively stop it. It also has some cool built-in stuff, like it has a little optical sensor and it'll automatically go off if you set it in a lightning mode. So you can set your background exposure for, say, blue hour with lightning coming down, and just leave it and it'll automatically fire when it senses lightning in the scene, instantaneously, so it captures it. Pretty darn cool. And believe it or not, it comes with a little laser trigger, so you can set it up by your bird feeder, and the minute that it senses a disconnection in that laser, it'll trigger the camera and capture your pictures of your wildlife automatically, or whatever other purpose you might have for a laser trigger. And I know you can buy a valve for it to do those water droplet photos that'll automatically trigger the camera when the water hits the surface and the surface tension breaks. So definitely a fun little thing, well worth $150 to play around with, and to just give you the peace of mind of a wireless Bluetooth trigger in your pocket all the time. All you got to do is thread this little guy onto your hot shoe and stick the adapter into your camera. So the other thing that David had when we were out at Mount Rainier this last year, he helped me with the 2018 Mount Rainier workshop, is this platypod. I'd never seen one before. It fits in this nice little cloth bag. It's small, it's lightweight, and it basically creates sort of a second tripod. If you're carrying one tripod in the field, you can screw these little feet that have a nice keeper on them into the base here. It has one side of the feet is a point for staying nice and stable in rocks or anything. The other point is the other side is a rubber base for a nice wood surface like this, so you're not going to mar the surface of the table if you're using it on a table. And you thread it on here, and it has a tripod mount plate. So I'm grabbing my Acrotech Ultimate ball head here and threading it on, which is an ultralight little 1-pound ball head. The whole thing weighs less than 2 pounds. And one of the cool things, we were at this waterfall that I've photographed a few times at Mount Rainier that's really difficult because you can't get right to the edge of it. There's a bridge, and there's just a beautiful view of it, but you can't get your tripod leaned up because of the way the bridge is designed. You just can't get your tripod out over the edge without leaning it out over. And to do a long exposure like that's really complicated. So with this guy, you can just mount your camera on it and swivel it around so it's facing right off the edge. And then you hold your hand on there, everything's nice and stable. You use your Pluto trigger to just do the tap, and boom, you just captured your picture of your waterfall, leaned right off the edge of the bridge. But in other situations where, let's say you want to do a time lapse and you're out in mountainous terrain, you can just set this thing up on a rock. You can get it perfectly balanced by threading these in further or less so that it's nice and level, and boom, you've basically got a second tripod out in the field with you. So really, really handy deal. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember the exact price of this, but it's under $100, and it really is small, self-contained, light, and creates all kinds of opportunities that you might not otherwise have. The minute I used David's to capture that picture at Christine Falls, I was sold, and I ordered one the minute I got back. So that's just some little fun ideas. I've got the links right down below to go to those. I also want to announce that I'm offering a photo kit through On1 Software on Black Friday that is a brand new focus stacking class for On1 users. It's going to show you in the field how to capture images to either use automated focus stacking software or hand blend in layers. And I'm going to talk about how to do that in PhotoRaw's brand new 2019 software that lets you do raw, composite, layered workflow with multiple raw images in a raw workflow to put those together and blend those to get focus front to back all the way sharp. And it's also going to have 40 presets that are brand new, designed in PhotoRaw 2019, as well as 10 LUTs and a video on using those, along with 20 ultra high resolution western sky images to using your own compositing. And the whole thing is marked down just for Black Friday to $49.99. So little shameless self pitch. I got a link for that in below the video as well. I got a couple of fun questions. One was on fluid heads, and it was about whether I'd rather use a gimbal for long lens wildlife photography or a fluid head. And I'm going to say that, in an ideal world, if I'm carrying a big 600mm lens in the car, I've probably got room for the gimbal too, and I think the gimbal stays just a little bit more balanced. You still have that ability to pan and tilt without losing your level with the gimbal. The problem is it doesn't work for landscape and travel photography in general. So you can't just mount a camera in there with its L bracket. You need to have a long lens with a collar that rotates that the camera sits back far enough on the gimbal. So the gimbal's great for long lenses, but then you have to carry a second tripod and head around, or at least a second head around for all your other general purpose work. And that's where I think the fluid head comes in. For a 2-pound package, it does it all. And it does a fine job with long lenses, swiveling around, turret style, capturing images. You might just not want to let go when you have yourself all the way tilted up like you can with a gimbal. It isn't as perfectly balanced. Otherwise, great stuff. So the other question I had was on whether or not I'll be doing a workshop in Patagonia in the near future. And I'm really excited to say yes. Fall 2019, I'll be doing a workshop that's both in Chile and Argentina. We're putting all the details together. And if you go to www.hudsonhenry.com/workshops right now, you'll see that I have the first 5 workshops of the year lined up, along with a list of upcoming workshops for 2019. And those first 5 are exciting. There's a couple of Oregon Coast workshops, there's South Carolina, there's Death Valley, and there's Washington State's beautiful rolling farmland in the Palouse. So that kind of carries us through the middle of 2019's already set up. Go ahead, head over there, check those out. Thanks so much for watching to the end of the video. If you've enjoyed it, go ahead, hit like, please hit subscribe. Tell your friends about it. And if you want to join the conversation and submit a question, just send it to questions@hudsonhenry.com or run over to the Approaching the Scene site, www.hudsonhenry.com/ATS, and you can leave your question there. All right. Thanks, guys. I hope everybody has a fantastic Turkey Day.